I brought it to you the other day that the IDF dressed up, a special unit in the IDF dressed up as doctors and patients, ran into a hospital in Gaza and murdered, I believe, 3 Palestinians in their beds as they slept. And it is a war crime to dress as enemy soldiers or to dress as doctors. But of course, Israel is, could you imagine the list of war crimes that Israel's committing right now? It'd be, you'd be going for hours. Here is the response of Matt Miller, the spokesperson for our State Department, when he was asked whether the U.S. government endorses that action, the IDF dressing up as doctors, which is a war crime, and going in and shooting people in their beds.
Israel has the right to carry out anti-terrorism operations.
Yeah. See, now he's avoiding answering the question. He's saying they have the right to carry out anti-terrorism as operations, but that's not the question. The question was, do you have a right to commit war crimes? Do you have a right to dress as doctors and dress as the enemy and et cetera, and go and murder people in their beds? And this is a propaganda technique. By rephrasing the question into something you can answer, he is able to answer. He's then fine. He's cleared himself of the reality of having to answer the question, which the behind closed doors answer is, yeah, the U.S. is fine with Israel committing all kinds of war crimes, or else we wouldn't be sending them bombs to drop on children. That's the behind closed doors answer. The answer in public is rephrase the question in a way that you can act like it's fine.
Israel has the right to carry out anti-terrorism operations, right, to bring members of Hamas to justice. But as I said, we want them to be carried out in full compliance with international humanitarian law.
So they say that, but when he's asked, does that mean you are condemning the IDF action where they dressed as doctors and murdered 3 people? He won't answer that. But you just said you want them to do it in line with humanitarian law. It's all garbage. It's all theater. And anyone who watches these and thinks they somehow represent anything the U.S. government believes, anything, is out of their mind. They've been eating paint chips. They've been sucking down mercury thermometers. That is the only way you believe a word coming out of this man's mouth.
I'm asking you, is this a conduct befitting a state that controls every single person in that whole territory?
We think.
And when he says controls every single person in that territory, he means Gaza. And you may go, well, what do you mean? Israel doesn't control every person. Yeah, they're in an open air prison. And what he means is they control the water. They control the medicine that goes in or out. They control whether anyone comes or goes, which if Palestine were a nation, it would be one of their rights under international law to come and go freely from your country. Israel will never allow a 2-state solution because that would allow people in Gaza to come and go as they see fit. You cannot stop people. Imagine if the U.S. said no one from, France is ever allowed to leave France again. It's illegal. So when Israel says they support a 2-state solution, they don't. It's a lie in order to get people to keep dealing with the diplomatic process and to not address the fact that Israel is an apartheid state. And so when he says controlling the people, he means that they surveil everything they do. They control their water. They control their medicine. They control their food. They control whether they leave to get life-saving medical procedures, which is why in Gaza, the life expectancy if you get breast cancer is like 20% or something. The life expectancy if you get breast cancer in the United States, or percentage of those who live, is like 80 to 90%. Most people in the United States, if they get breast cancer, they will survive. In Gaza, most will die because they're not allowed to leave Gaza and go to a hospital that can handle the procedures.
I think it is appropriate that they have the ability to bring members of Hamas to justice.
Again, rephrase it and into a way that that is not what he's asking.
But as I said, it needs to be done in compliance with international humanitarian law.
But if that were the case, if the U.S. actually stood by that, it has to be done in compliance with humanitarian law, then they wouldn't send tens of thousands of bombs to Israel since October 7th. That's not even talking about everything we sent them before. Tens of thousands of bombs since October 7th. We wouldn't have military right now in Israel advising them on how to perpetrate their genocide. We wouldn't have CIA, this is according to the New York Times, CIA helping Israel assassinate Palestinians. We wouldn't have, this is according to The Intercept, we wouldn't have, well, actually, it's according to a memo either leaked or released by the Pentagon, either accidentally released or released, not officially released, but it was a Pentagon memo telling troops in Iraq, U.S. troops, to be on standby to facilitate and support an invasion of Gaza. U.S. troops are on standby right now to possibly facilitate an invasion of Gaza. You wouldn't have all that going on if you actually wanted to hold Israel accountable for their actions and have them behave in a way that was in line with humanitarian law. You wouldn't.